Welcome to the Mel K Podcast. My name is Melanie. I'm your host, and this is the second episode of the Mel K Podcast. How are y'all doing? How's your week been since I last spoke to you? My week has been okay. I've been preparing for an interview with a local company, so fingers crossed on that one. I've also been wasting a lot of time binge watching South Park. Also, small victory. I made an accomplishment by finally, after 5 months, hanging up all my jewelry instead of having it scattered all over my bookshelf. So, making progress, getting it done, whatever. Also, I have learned how to cut out verbal stutters and pauses and ramblings editing-wise, so hopefully this will go a little bit smoother. Okay, on with the show. Today's episode is going to be about customer service. I had an outline for this and then I forgot to save it, so it's gone. So I'm just going to talk to you. I'm just going to have a one-sided conversation with you guys, and hopefully you'll enjoy it. So, all of my job experience has been customer service related, whether it be working as a secretary for the school that I went to for a few years, or working in fast food, which is a breed of customer service work all on its own. I know a lot of you all out there know what I'm talking about. It can be a nightmare, especially dealing with angry people who are hungry. It's almost, I would say, the worst. And now I have a job with the fourth largest cable company in America for almost at 2 years in November. And this is where I've gotten the bulk of my customer service experience. And let me tell you something, it has been an education. I started out working with what they like to call internal customers, which are, in my case, were the technicians who would come and install your services and work out issues that might be in your home. And then about 5 months ago, I got transitioned to working with system technicians who work on the lines outside of your home and deal with area outages and stuff like that. So, in my experience with internal customers, I've learned there are a lot of strong personalities. And a lot of people who don't like being told what they have to do. It's a lot to put up with some days. I'm not talking bad about anybody. I'll just say it's definitely an exercise in patience, professional courtesy. I will say that. Also, on the other end, I have also had to work with customers. In my experience working with real customers, I've very rarely ever had to talk to a happy customer. It's generally always been because the technician is late, or the customer missed their appointment, or their services aren't working, or they feel we've wronged them in some way, and so generally always angry people. Now, I tell you all this not to complain about my job. I'm actually very grateful for the job I have. It got me out of a really hard financial time in my life. So, I'm not complaining about my job at all. Why I'm telling you this is because I'm getting ready to talk about a group of people who, if you've talked to me or read my Facebook within the past week or so, you know who I'm getting ready to talk about. But I say this to let you know I've been where these people have been. I know what they are going through. I've been through almost the exact same things they have been through. I do not say this without any foresight. I don't know the proper word. I know. And still, I'm going to say this. Okay, so I live in an area where the company that I work for, their services are not in this area. It's actually a Comcast area. So I have Comcast internet. Now, for me, it's a little annoying because I could be getting free internet, free cable, all the works right now, but I was stubborn and moved, and now I have to pay for all my services. So, I mean, that's a little annoying for me. I have Comcast internet right now, and when it initially got set up, It was put at the wrong address, and I did not realize it for 2 months until I paid my first bill. And then when I paid my first bill, all of a sudden my services started getting really spotty, very intermittent internet. And then I looked and I realized it was one number off from my actual address. So I called customer care and I was like, hey, I think this is messing up my internet. Can this be fixed? Well, they couldn't fix it because of security issues. Apparently you have to go and verify your address with a driver's license and stuff like that. Lucky for me, I had just gotten I just got my license changed because I got pulled over the week before for speeding. Different story. Anyways, the woman I talked to, she told me I had to go into the office, but she was kind of, well, starting out, she was kind of annoyed with me and acted as if this whole situation was my fault. It's my fault that my address was entered wrong by the rep who set up my services and stuff like that. By the end of me talking to her, I was very polite to her. I tried to be very patient with her, and she sort of calmed down and was polite to me. So that was good. But I still had to go to the office. I went in and proceeded to deal with one of the rudest people. I mean, not like outright rude, but one of the most passively rude, if there is such a thing, passively rude customer service reps ever. Just completely, you could tell he was so annoyed with me. I just could not believe that, I was here and he was the one who had to deal with correcting my account and transferring my services over and all of that. And I mean, it might take a few minutes. I've had to do it before, but it's not the end of the world. But throughout this entire time, I was still very polite and I was apologetic, which in retrospect, it makes me mad that I was apologetic to this man because the man who set up my services was sitting right beside the man who was trying to correct my services. And I could have called this man out. Like, I could have been one of those customers, you know? But no, because of my experience in customer service, I was still polite, still calm, very grateful when they got it fixed. Whatever. Okay, so got home. My services still weren't working, so I power cycled my modem. I reset my modem. I sat there for a minute, plugged it back in. An hour later, my internet was still not working. So I was like, okay. I call back in, right? I get a man who I'm pretty sure was Philippine. Anyways, this man, he said his name was David. Politest person I had talked to all day. He had trouble finding my account, which wasn't an issue for me, but once he found it, he told me that actually my equipment wasn't ever transferred over to my proper address. So transferred it over, reset it, got it up and working for me. Lovely man, very polite. Don't understand why the people here in America couldn't be as polite to me. I kind of understand why they outsource a little bit. Even though the two people I dealt with prior to David were extremely rude to me, or somewhat rude to me, throughout the entire time, I maintained politeness throughout the entire time. Here's where my point is, and some people may disagree with me. Okay, as a customer, most of the times unless you're setting up services or stuff like that, unless you're initially buying something, the only reason you really deal with customer service reps is when something is wrong. Something needs to be fixed, especially in this line of work. So, as a customer, I know a lot of people have a tendency, you're already annoyed because something is wrong, and then you get on there, on the phone or talking to somebody, and it feels like they are maybe not helpful to you, or they are rude to you, or it's just a bad experience. Now, there's not an excuse. There's not an excuse for people, especially in customer service roles, to be rude to you. There's not. But let's just say there is. Put yourself in that person's shoes. Most likely, that person has put up with somebody right before you, a different customer, completely rude, completely irate, yelling at them, cussing at them about something that really isn't even the rep's fault. The rep is almost always the middleman in these situations. But they have to put up with multiple people a day screaming and cussing and treating them like crap. And a lot of people could say, well, that's just part of the job. That's what they sign up for. Tough titties, they need to deal with it. You could have that mentality. Or you could be not a jerk and have a little bit of compassion for the person that you're talking to. I'm not a perfect person, but when I dealt with the first two people trying to get my services fixed, I realized that very likely they had put up with some really tough customers today, especially with Comcast and all the bad PR and reputation they have with their customer service right now, especially with that one call of the retention specialist not letting that guy cancel his services and stuff. They're not, even if you're not a bad rep, if you work for Comcast right now, I'm sure people think you're a bad rep. They're not in a very good environment right now. So you could be a jerk and hold it against them, or you could have a little compassion and realize this is where these people are coming from. Try to have a little patience and be polite. Now, no, don't put up with someone being completely awful to you and completely rude, like that one guy on the phone call was. Although, if you think about it, he was doing what his company expected of him. Although he did go a little overboard, but that's what he makes his money doing, is trying to save customers. Anyways, have a little patience, be a little polite. I mean, if you slap me and I slap you back, and then you stab me, and then I shoot you, and then I burn down your house because, oh, you've done one small thing to me. I mean, it's like having that kind of mentality. It sounds ridiculous, but all it does is escalate the situation. All it does is make that rep more irritated, and it could ruin other customers' experience. If everybody was just polite and compassionate and didn't scream at each other, and when they get on the phone, maybe we could save a lot of people's days, I would like to think, because, just be a nice person. Just be a nice person and realize that the person you're talking to probably has had a really hard day. Now, on the other side of it all, customer service reps, and I've seen this happen a lot before when I've been working in it. Maybe the customer starts out being polite with the first person they talk with, and they're trying to be understanding. And what ends up happening is the first person they talk to couldn't help them, or jerk them around, or lied about something just to get the customer off their back. It happens a lot. So the customer ends up having to talk to this department and that department, and oh, so-and-so said this and this department said that, and what's actually going on? It's like a chain of people that they have to talk to before they even get to you. And by the time they get to you, they're so frustrated because they've been jerked around so much. As a rep, acknowledge that and try to be the solution to the problem. In a perfect world, this would never happen. But I feel like if a few people tried to be the solution to customers' problems, instead of just being another link in the chain of issues that they have to deal with, and it would go a lot smoother. Now, okay, it's not a perfect world. Maybe somebody's having a bad day. Sometimes you might have to go the extra mile. You might have to carry your fellow man. Even if in the end, that customer or that rep is never polite to you through the whole experience. I mean, at that point, unless it was like completely outlandish, just suck it up and acknowledge the fact that you were the bigger person, because it's not a perfect world. Sometimes you just have to put on your big girl panties and acknowledge that sometimes that's just the way life is. But if more people focused on, instead of lashing out at the people they're having to deal with in their customer service experience, or, oh, this person slighted me in some way, this rep slighted me in some way, or was what I assume was rude, or as I took as rude to me, so now I'm going to just be completely awful to them. If more people just stopped acting like that, things would be a lot better. It's like a ripple effect. At least I think it's like a ripple effect. Okay, so basically, be excellent to each other. If anybody gets what's that reference. Just be nice. Just be nice to each other. Okay, that is all I have to say. Let's have a conversation. contest. The first 4 people who can tell me where the quote "be excellent" was from, who said it, and what was directly said after that, and you message me on my Facebook page, The Mel K Podcast, the first 4 people will win a prize. And you will also be announced on the following podcast. So, if you're interested in that, you have until the 8th. The first 4 people that I get responses from will get a prize. That should be super awesome. It will also see who's listening, so that's cool too. Alright, I guess that's all. Everybody have an awesome week.